Welcome today. We will be talking about some of the storage and submission issues that we see most commonly coming on from students trying to submit different assignments. And a lot of them that I'm going to be talking about deal really kind of specifically with students who may have low bandwidth, especially with all of our students that are moving to the online environment or at least hybridly online. They may be in locations where they may not have as high of internet or a good internet that they're used to when they're on campus. So kind of looking at different ways to kind of think through things. What are the issues that might be going on and what are ways to be able to help solve them? So there will be a couple of times that I will ask for some input on some different things. So please feel free to come off the mic or type in the chat. There's not a lot of us here today, so you're welcome to come off the microphone or come onto the microphone and kind of interact with some of these questions as well. All right, so we are going to start with, so what are kind of some of the topics that we are going to cover? So we're looking at the issues students have kind of specifically when they are viewing different things inside a WT class, and then also different issues that students commonly have, or the issues we commonly see when they're submitting different assignments inside a WT class. So I'm going to start by kind of asking, what types of assignments have any of you had that students have had issues submitting in WT class? Is there anything in particular that anyone has seen as having that any of their students or any students in general have had when they're trying to submit in WT class? And again, if you want to come onto that microphone, or if you just want to type something in the chat box, just kind of trying to see if we have anything that people have been seeing students having issues with. Image files, especially large images. Yes, that is one thing that we do have that I will be talking about. One button videos, one button studio videos. Yes, that is one of the things that we will be talking about in just a little bit as well. PDF files. Yep, we will be talking about PDF files to some extent also. So it sounds like a lot of the things that people are seeing in their own classes are also things that that we see typically as well. So good to know that we're all on the same page. Everyone's having the same issues, I guess. Kind of a good thing that we're not seeing anything odd or awkward that y'all aren't necessarily seeing. All right, so talking about like the one button studio that Mike talked about, and students who are submitting videos. If you have any video projects where a student is to submit a video, some things that you got to know. There is a size restriction inside of a WT class. There's a 150 megabyte file size limit for any uploads into WT class. So often video files can quickly become too large for that. In some cases, a 5 to 10-minute video can reach that 150 megabytes depending on how that video was created, what kind of camera they used, what kind of editing they did, what kind of output file did they use. All of those different things can create a file that would be larger than that. So you do have a few options for students for any of those kind of video submissions. If you have your students using a one button studio, and for those of you who don't know, we have a one button studio on campus in the Hastings Electronic Learning Center where your students can actually come to this room. They schedule the room to use. They come to the room. Basically, all they have to bring is a USB drive. They walk in the room, they plug in the USB drive, they push the button, all the lights and camera and everything turn on. They can record a video, a very professional video. They can either even do different backdrops and different things like that. And so then they stop the video by pushing the button again, pull out their thumb drive, their USB drive, and they can take that video file out of the room. It's made to be very quick, very simple to be able to publish a quick and easy professional quality video. So if you have your students doing any of those video projects, that might be an option for students who might be on campus. So what do they do with those submissions, with those video files? One option is to have them upload their video into YouTube. Typically we say, if you're going to do this, have them listed as unlisted, especially if you have any concern with any of the content that might be in the video. by posting it as an unlisted video within YouTube. All your students have to do is just get that link, that URL to it, and post that URL to you. Submit it as the assignment, email it to you, however you're wanting that assignment. They just give you that URL. You can now go out and view it. If they post it as private, you can't access it. They have to then actually give you permission, which becomes much more difficult. So listing it as unlisted, only those that have that URL can access it. And again, then they can submit that link to you. Some people, some faculty have issues with it being submitted through YouTube because there are things like your students do have to create a YouTube account, and then they do have to know how to submit it and things like that. So there are kind of those concerns. Also, if you have content that might be controversial, might be fall under some of those other kind of like, I know some nursing faculty have them take a video of them interacting with a patient. Basically, it's a fake patient, but technically you could say that it might be considered something personal and covered by HIPAA and things like that. And so they don't want it out there on YouTube because they don't want to take any chance in it being published fully so that everyone can have access to it. So YouTube might not be the best option for some submissions. So alternatively, students can also upload it to their OneDrive account. So with their WT student email account, all students have access to OneDrive with 1 terabyte of space available to them. Faculty and staff also have this also. I just like to mention that as well. But this is one way that your students can submit it. They upload it into OneDrive. There's a way that they can then share that video. There's a share option. And again, they just provide that link to you as the professor. One thing to note, they do need to follow our instructions very closely because often students will click the wrong box, the wrong sharing box, and then you as a faculty member will get an error message saying that you don't have the rights to view it. And it just has to do with the way that our students versus faculty staff setup is created. So we do have instructions on both how do you submit using YouTube, how do you submit using OneDrive on our student website. And so I've included that website below, the specific URL for where you can get it. And then on the right side of the screen is that little screenshot of where can they actually go to get it. So it's right there on the bottom of the page, submitting a video assignment using YouTube or submitting a video assignment using OneDrive. And it kind of walks them through step by step how to get that done. Now, it doesn't necessarily give every single step in the case of YouTube because it may not always indicate this is how you create a YouTube account. Some of it is kind of understanding that you know how to do that to begin with. But we do have step-by-step instructions, so it's not something that you have to create. You would just have to provide that information to your students so that they would have access to that. All right. So continuing on with kind of size issues, those submitting documents. So this would be things like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint. This might be PDF files. I'll talk a little bit more about PDFs here in a minute also. But again, we have that 150 megabyte size restriction. So anything over that size will have to be compressed or changed or altered to get it to be able to be uploaded. So Word and PowerPoint, typically when we find either of these documents being too large, it is often because they have images that are really large in them. So they've taken a high definition image off of their camera and they've put it in there, and then they have 50 of them. Because it's a slideshow about their life or something, it's an introductory one. Well, that file size quickly becomes too large and they can't upload that. So the thing that they need to do is then compress those images so that instead of a larger file size within that PowerPoint, it gets reduced. So we have instructions, again, on that same website as where you saw for assignments, for submitting video assignments. Just above those two links is one for compressing Microsoft Office documents. And so it goes through that process of how to do that. Now, this kind of relates then to PDFs as well. If you are having students create a Word document and then convert it to PDF to submit, they might have that same issue. And it's because of the Word document, the images in the Word document need to be compressed before they convert it to the PDF. So you might have that issue in that form as well. These directions do have stuff for PC and Mac, so regardless of what version you may be using, they have access to it. If you have students who are using something other than Microsoft Office, they're using Google Drive or something like that, we don't have directions, but just as a reminder, all students with their student email account have access to be able to download Microsoft Office for free on up to, I believe, 5 devices. And so they have a capability of converting that into a Microsoft Word document to be able to look at it through these directions. All right, so some of the other file size issues. So this can be things like worksheets. So you have them print out a document, they hand write on it, and then they scan it or they take a picture of it. Again, this might be some of those PDF files that we're seeing, and then they're submitting those PDF documents or those images back into to WT Class. So some of the things you may want to consider with worksheets, if it's something that it's like they're just hand filling it out, is it something that they really need to draw out? Is it something that they're having to chart, draw, or is it just they're typing things, but now they're hand writing it instead? Could it be converted into a test format instead? Some of the other things you also got to think about, while you may go, oh yeah, I use worksheets all the time, but none of my students have issues with submitting, or it's just one random oddity here and there. Well, individually, they may not be a big deal, but if you look over the entire course, if you're having them submit 3 to 4 worksheets every week, now over 16 weeks, while one individual document might not go over 150, now we're totaling a lot over the course of the semester. So you may want to look at some of those other things to help just be good stewards of our space size, so that we can look at long-term processing of WT Class. So you might want to consider, what are ways that I could change this so that those one-off students that are having issues don't have the issues, but it also helps in the overall class file size by not having all of these different scanned documents or images in the course. We have a couple of courses that are like 15 gigabytes in file size because they use worksheets like this. And so individually, the faculty may say, I only have like one student who ever has a problem. Yeah, but when you're uploading a 50 megabyte file every week, that quickly becomes very large as an overall course file size. The more files we have on the system, the more chances that the system is going to slowly just start to slog down and slow down. So helping us to reduce some of those file size can help everyone in WT Class as well. So again, looking at what are you having them do? Is there a different alternative method to get this to happen? And so if you're not for sure about that, contact one of our instructional designers. That's me, that's Yvonne Stevenson, that's Ms. Chris McGilvery. All 3 of us are in this session today. So if you ever have questions on what might be a different way to do this assignment to still get the same information, but change it up a little bit to make it easier on me, on my students, on the system, what other options might we have? And we can talk about those different things with you. All right, so kind of switching away from students having actual issues submitting to that student that says, I know I submitted it. Why did I get a 0? What do I do? What are some of the things that you can do to see, did my student even attempt this? There's several reasons why a submission might not go through. One of them, of course, is because the file size is too big, but it usually gives a pretty decent little red flag that says something went wrong. They may not know that it's because of the file size, but they at least know my submission didn't go through. But then you have that student that says, no, I know I submitted it, but you can't find anything of it. So the first thing I always recommend is going into your Grade Center history for that student, for that assignment. And basically you're going to look for, is there an attempt cleared on it? So you can see in the screenshot here, I have test 1, which is an assignment that was uploaded. I go to this grade history tab within the view grade details of that particular student, and I can see where it says there was an attempt grade cleared. So I can see there was an attempt grade here below of 20, but then there was an attempt grade cleared by me. So at that point, I know, okay, well, they did submit it. Now, why did I clear it? Did I clear the wrong student? absolutely a real possibility. I have 2 Johns in my class and I cleared the wrong John. Did my GA or TA clear it on accident? Okay, why did they clear it? Do I have record of the student contacting me saying, oh my gosh, I submitted the wrong document. Can you clear it for me and let me resubmit? Well, I cleared it, but my student didn't resubmit. So it kind of gives you then that information. Okay, is this something that was done on the system level that, did I do it? Did somebody do it? If you come in here and you don't see anything, there's no information, then that means that the student did not successfully submit. Now that can be for several reasons. Again, like I've mentioned, there's several different reasons why it might not successfully submit. So one of the things you can do is you can run a report that's called the Student Overview for Single Course. It's under the control panel, evaluation, and then course reports, and it's one of the options in there. It's near the bottom. You click the drop down, you select the dates, you select the student you want to run it on, let it run. Just know when you run this, you got to give it time. Go get a drink of water, go get your coffee, go to the bathroom, come back, because you're going to be sitting there going, why are you taking so long? It just takes it a while. Just give it patience. Once that report runs, it will give you information about the student to start with. But the important thing is when you get down to the student activity by item, it will actually list within the date range that you selected, what did the student click on? What items did they click on? So in this example, we can see they clicked on an assignment, they clicked on a file, they clicked on a content folder, they clicked on a test, they clicked on a Turnitin assignment, they clicked on a content folder. We can see everything that the student clicked on. We can see when that initial click was. That's what on the very far right of that screenshot is. When did they first click on it? Now, the downside to this is, as you can see, it does show that the student clicked on the assignment. It does show they clicked on a Turnitin assignment. However, it doesn't show me, did it submit? So all this is really showing me is, did my student even attempt to access it? If they didn't, if you don't see that in here, you don't see where they clicked on the assignment, you don't see where they clicked on that Turnitin assignment, clearly they didn't do it. How can they have submitted something if they never clicked on it to be able to submit it? So that's really what this report is showing you. Is there even a chance that they tried? Now, past that, there's no way to know, did they try, other than yes, they clicked on it, or no, they didn't. With assignments, as well as Turnitin assignments, when a student successfully submits, they get an email to their email account letting them know, here's information showing that you successfully submitted. It gives them a submission ID or a submission receipt number. If they have that email, they can contact ITSC, they can contact the IT help desk, and we can track down that submission. We can find out what happened to it. If they didn't get that email, then it was not successfully submitted. Either they didn't click through all the steps, which is a common issue with Turnitin. There's one extra step with Turnitin than a regular WT class assignment that students often forget to click on. It's basically that last step that says, yes, this is the right paper. Yes, I want to submit it to Turnitin. And so they forget that step. And so it's gone. There's no record of it. Turnitin doesn't keep any of that information. Assignments, the common issue that we see with assignments is they go in, they upload it, they click submit, and then they just leave. They don't let it process all the way through. They just click submit and then turn it off, thinking, oh yeah, it went. Well, you got to submit and you got to wait and let it process through. So again, the important thing is that's something that I always tell all my students, make sure you go back to your email. Did you get that receipt? If you got that receipt, you're good. Your submission went through. If you didn't get that receipt, you may need to go back into WT class and check, did it submit? What do I see in my grades? Do I see that needs grading icon, that yellow circle? Or do I see a blue circle? Or do I see nothing? That means I didn't get it submitted and I need to try it again. And so those are some ways that you can help to try to preemptively prevent your students from having issues with assignments, is walking them through, here's the things that you need to know. Did you get an email? What does my grade show after you submit, to try to help prevent some of those, I know I submitted it, but this gives you a way to be able to check for those students that you're like, I know you didn't do it. Well, you can check that student activity report to see, did they even click on that assignment or not, to be able to submit it. All right, so Now that we've kind of gone over some of the issues, are there any other issues that have, brought to your attention, or something I maybe didn't cover in full that y'all were talking about whenever you were talking about different ways? I want to just give everyone a minute in case there was something else that I didn't cover as far as students submitting assignments. All right, I'm not seeing anything. So I will go ahead and go on. And if you are still madly, frantically typing, feel free. I can pause and come back as well, because I think I have another question after this as well. So my next question is kind of, now that we're transitioning from submitting, what about viewing content? What issues have you seen from your students or heard from your students when they're trying to view different content items inside a WT class? Have you had any students reporting issues with, I can't view this, I can't get to this? What are some of those things that you're seeing students report? And again, I'll give everyone just a minute or two. Again, come off the mic or write in the chat box, whichever one you prefer. Nobody having any issues with people submitting or trying to view content? Well, you might not be having issues. All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the things that we often see. So one of the things is videos. Students are reporting that they're trying to view a video and it won't work. It keeps trying to load. And so they get that kind of circling business where it just keeps trying to load. It'll play a little bit and then it stops and it loads. And so they hear just a word and then it stops, and then a word and then it stops. Or it won't play at all. Or it will load to a certain point and then it will never load anything more. All those kind of different things. This is one of the common things we see with students who have low bandwidth. So that's one of the main issues. So one of the big things is we want to make sure that all video that is inside a WT class is not directly uploaded into WT class, but is uploaded to a streaming website. So this is on Ensemble or on YouTube. So Ensemble is our WT based streaming server. If in the past if last semester you recorded your Zoom sessions, it will have been one of those that automatically converted over into Ensemble. So you're already aware of Zoom. It's just, or you're already aware of Ensemble. You just may not realize that that's what it is. You can upload video into Ensemble. It doesn't just have to come from Zoom. You can actually upload it directly into Ensemble. The positives to using Ensemble is, one of them is, if you have any hearing impaired students, if you have any need for closed captioning, if it is in Ensemble, IT can access that video and get it closed captioned. We may send it out to another company to have it closed captioned. It may be something that we close caption in-house, depending on kind of the necessity and the needs. So that's one of the benefits to putting in an Ensemble. We have access to it. If you put it in YouTube, we don't have access to it. So if you have a hearing impaired student, it is now on you to make sure that that video is fully accessible. A lot of faculty come back and say, well, it's YouTube. It has those auto captions. It's fine. The problem with the auto captioning in YouTube is it's not accurate. It's not always accurate enough. There are some people that the way they speak, it just naturally picks up everything and it's perfect and it's great. But then there are some, especially those that have any kind of an accent. I'm horrible about it. Every time I ever say WT class, it seems like it says Lassie. I don't know why WT class equals Lassie, but it seems to change it to Lassie most of the time. So I know that I have issues. And so the important thing with YouTube is that then you have to remember that if it's in YouTube, it's your responsibility to go back and make sure that that transcript is at least 98% accurate. That's the requirement by law, 98% accuracy or better. So if it's in Ensemble, now you can have IT help you with that. If it's in YouTube, you're now responsible for that to ensure that that's accurate enough for any students that might have a disability. So also inside of Ensemble, one of the other things that can help with a student that might be having issues with viewing, because every once in a while we do have students that that come back and say, I just can't view this video on Ensemble. Ensemble also has the ability to set it up where students can download the video. The nice thing about downloading a video is that a student can download it at their own time and then watch it, and now it's on their computer, and so they're not having to worry about their internet connection. It's just getting it downloaded is the only internet connection they have to worry about, which downloading they usually don't have the issue. It's the playback that they have the issues with. But by downloading it, it takes out that downloading while playing issue. So that's another nice thing about Ensemble. So if you do still have students who are having issues and you've put your videos in Ensemble, this is one of the options to combat that. There's also different ways of compressing a video. So if you have students who are having issues, contact us, let us know what videos may be having issues, and it may be something that we can download the video from Ensemble, run it through a different kind of encoder that kind of changes up the way that runs inside of Ensemble, and we can make it work for a student. We just have a couple of different settings that we can try to get it to work. And then the benefit, of course, then if you want to have all your videos out on YouTube, is that students are used to using and watching YouTube videos. So they're not going to have the issue of what button am I supposed to push? How am I supposed to stop it? It also has some of the feature, I think Ensemble has it also, that they can watch it double time if they want to go faster and things like that. But they're used to using YouTube, so they're more aware of how to use all of it. So that's one of the positives to using YouTube. So again, just as a reminder, please don't upload the video into WT Class. Actually put it on one of the streaming sites. Another kind of thing that goes with that, also with WT Class, every time you have that video in WT Class, that's another iteration of that file size. So if you teach History 1301 and you teach 2 sections of it this spring, and you have one video that you put in both classes, that video is now in WT Class 2 times. Well, you teach it during summer 1. Now it's in there 3 times because it's still in the spring semesters because we don't delete that content, but now it's also in the summer. And then you teach it summer 2. Now it's in there 4 times. And then next fall, you teach the same class 2 more times. You have 2 sections of it. That's 6 iterations of the same video. So while no, the video might not be over 150 megabytes, you now have that same file in there 6 times, and that is taking up space on our servers. Again, going back to some of the stuff that we talked about before, the more stuff we have on our servers, the more chance of things starting to slow down and causing issues and things like that. So help us save space on our servers by not duplicating those videos with each semester, by placing it on the Ensemble system, by placing it in YouTube, because then you have the video in one location, but you're linking to, like in my example, all 6 locations. And so it's the same video, it's just now linked instead of actually embedded and uploaded into each of those courses. All right, so one of the other issues that we've seen in the past, and I haven't been seeing it lately, I don't think we've been getting as much issues with this, but I wanted to mention it just in case anyone else has this issue. If you have a student that says, I'm only able to see the first 1 or 2 pages inside a PDF file. This was an issue. This was a known issue with Chrome at one point. I believe they've patched it and fixed it. But just in case you still have a student that has this issue, or you have this issue, just remember that that if they just try a different browser, that usually fixes the issue. Because like I said, it was a known Chrome issue. There's also a setting on PDFs that you can change that would fix this. The downside is you have to have Adobe Acrobat Pro to do that. We do have Adobe Creative Suite licenses for faculty and staff that you're welcome to get that would give you Adobe Acrobat Pro. You just have to request access to it. But there is a setting that you can change that will do that. I'm not going over that simply because the easiest way to fix it is to just tell students use Firefox for a minute and go download that file from Firefox. All right. So also, as Yvonne pointed out, since there are WT class staff in here, Ensemble is really used for academic purposes. So classes. If staff members need it, we really want that on YouTube because we're trying to save the Ensemble storage specifically for academic courses and not have promotional videos and stuff on it. And so that stuff would need to be moved to YouTube specifically. All right. Okay, so I know no one said anything about any content issues, but I thought I'd ask once again, is anyone having or has anyone thought now of any issues that students have had with accessing any of their content? All right, so I'm not really getting anything yet, and someone may be frantically typing, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. Feel free to keep typing because, the next part won't really be a concern. So the last thing is, does anyone have any kinds of questions or anything like that about anything that we've talked about? I also want to mention, do you need help with your course in any way? Like I mentioned, we have 3 instructional designers on campus that are here to help you. If you have questions about how do I redesign something, how do I do an assignment different, how do I change up, these documents or videos that I might have in my course, what can I do differently? How can I improve my class? Any of those kinds of questions. That's one of the things that we are here for. So please contact us. You can contact us. We have an easy email, techtraining@wtmu.edu, that you can email us at, and it goes to all 3 of us, and then somebody can get back to you as soon as we're available to help you with whatever issues you might have. I'm not seeing anything come up, so that is all that I have for y'all. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully you were able to learn a little bit of something about different ways to submit assignments and content issues and stuff like that. So if you have any other questions, I'm going to stick around for a few extra minutes. Please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.